Rise of life. Several theories aroused on when life started, the most recent of which takes it back to 3.85 billion years ago, only 50 million years after Earth formed. Rise of life is a very exciting issue for scientists to discover, so lots of scientists have been trying to find an answer to the question how life began. To answer this question, we have to know how amino acids and proteins started to exist on Earth. Stanley Miller established an experiment where he took two flasks, one containing a little water to represent a primeval ocean, the other holding a mixture of methane, ammonia, and hydrogen sulfide gases to represent Earth's early atmosphere. He connected them with rubber tubes and introduced some electric sparks to stand in for lightning. After a few days, the water in the flask had turned green and yellow in a hardy growth of amino acids, fatty acids, sugars, and other organic compounds. However, modern scientists say that the early Earth's atmosphere wasn't like Miller's experiment, but rather was a much less reactive blend of nitrogen and carbon dioxide. Repeating Miller's experiments with these more challenging inputs has so far produced only one fairly primitive amino acid. Scientists say that the problem is not about creating amino acids, it's about forming proteins. Proteins are created by stringing great numbers of amino acids together in certain order and certain numbers. In order to become protein, amino acids must link. For collagen, as an example, to form, 1055 amino acids must join in precise order spontaneously. This is stunningly improbable to occur as a random event, so by all laws of probability, proteins shouldn't exist. To imagine how complicated this is, just imagine a Las Vegas slot machine, but broadened greatly to accommodate 1055 spinning wheels, with 20 symbols on each wheel, one for each common amino acid. How long would you have to pull the handle before all 1055 symbols come up in the right order? On the other hand, there is a possibility that protein change did not assemble all at once. As Richard Dawkins argues, there must have been some kind of cumulative selection process that allowed amino acids to assemble in chunks. But a protein is no good if it cannot reproduce, and proteins cannot. Here comes the importance of DNA, as it can replicate and make a copy of itself in seconds. DNA and proteins work together and simultaneously. Proteins cannot work without DNA, and DNA has no purpose without proteins. DNA, proteins, and other components of life are nothing more than chemicals without some sort of membrane to contain them. No atom or molecule can ever achieve life independently. It is only when they come together within the nurturing refuge of a cell that these diverse materials can take part of an amazing dance that we call life. If the basic constituents of life were to be considered, nothing would be really special about them. Life is formed of oxygen, hydrogen, carbon, and nitrogen, along with a few more elements. As Dawkins notes, living things are collections of molecules. Here we shift to the most important question. How has the very first life on Earth begun, and where has it come from? Some theories tackle the place where life came from. One of these was Lord Kelvin's theory, which assumed that the germs of life must have been brought to Earth by some meteorite, which started the idea referred to as panspermia. But it remained little more than a fringe notion until one Sunday in September 1969, when tens of thousands of Australians were startled by the series of sonic booms and the sight of a fireball streaking from east to west across the sky. The fireball made a strange crackling sound as it passed, and left behind a smell that some likened to methylated spirits and others described as just awful. The Murchison meteorite was found to be 4.5 billion years old, and it was studied with amino acids, 74 types in all, 8 of which are involved in the formation of earthly proteins. In late 2001, more than 30 years after it crashed, a team at the Ames Research Center in California announced that the Murchison rock also contained complex strings of sugars called polyols, which had not been found off the Earth before. However, the idea of panspermia as extraterrestrial theories are known does not really solve the mystery of the origins of life, but rather shifts it to space, and the question remains unanswered. The way the geochemist Victoria Bennett found out about the age of the oldest life on Earth was using the sensitive high-resolution ion microprobe, SHRIMP, which is a machine that can date the decay rate of uranium in durable tiny minerals called zircons. These are not very abundant because they wear out as the Earth layers shift, and the top layers approach the core. However, In Greenland and Australia, it has been found that the earth crust there has always remained on the surface. This is where probably the oldest rocks on Earth were found. The rocks that are said to have contained life do not actually have fossils in them, but they have the elements that refer to the possibility of life. And this is how the oldest life on Earth was anticipated. Scientists used shrimp to date the types of rocks that had bacteria living in them. The rocks are called stromatolites. Cyanobacteria is a type of bacteria that live in stromatolites, and they can absorb water molecules and release oxygen, and this, according to Margulies and Sagan, was undoubtedly the most important single metabolic innovation in the history of life of the planet. So this is when the atmosphere began to get oxygen that these bacteria exerted as waste, and the extra oxygen combined with iron to form ferric oxides and then started to accumulate in the atmosphere. The event that is thought to have started complex forms of living organisms is the capture of a bacterium by another type of bacterium, which is proven to benefit both of them. The captive bacterium became a mitochondrion. The mitochondrial invasion made complex life possible, and those mitochondria play a crucial role in the process of generating energy out of the foodstuffs. In plants, a similar invasion produced chloroplasts, which enable plants to photosynthesize. As a result of this new complexity in the formation of cells, a new type of cell emerged, the eukaryotes. The eukaryotes, as contrasted to the old type, the prokaryotes, were as much as 10,000 times bigger and carried as much as 1,000 times DNA. Single-celled eukaryotes used to be called protozoa, but are now called protists. These are very sophisticated organisms compared to their ancestors. The one-cell big amoeba carries 400 million bits in their genetic information. As these eukaryotes learned how to assemble into multicellular organisms, they made the evolution of so many other organisms possible, and started a whole new era where we became possible. As much as this journey might make humans sound so much in control, being very developed compared to the phases evolution went through, the world still belongs to the small.